Okay, so I just wanted to give you my take on the Bitcoin price action. Uh, as you know, we're in a bull run year, and we should be about halfway through it right now. And I've been very bullish on Bitcoin. I'm pretty certain, I'm convinced that it's going to go to 100K, 150, maybe even 200K. I still think it's going to get there, but it may not get there in the short term. It looks like it may take longer. I say that because, in the first few months, we had very good movement. So here up until the January peak here, and then we had a little bit of a pullback, and then set a new high in February of 58,000, and then a pullback. But these are higher highs, higher lows, and then continued up to our peak of 65,000 approximately. But then we had a major drawdown. We're talking close to 30% here, I think it was. And this is a lower low. And then our next high was a lower high. And then it gets worse. Then we had this huge plunge to the downside of 54%. So this doesn't look good to me. It looks to me like the bull run, at least for the time being, is over. It's possible that this may go down or from here go sideways, maybe for a month, couple months, I don't know, and then resume going up. I don't believe the bull run is completely finished, but I think this run here is definitely run out of gas. And I'll tell you why, a couple of reasons. We have a famous trader named Elliott. I forget his first name or last name. But he came up with the Elliott wave theory, and it shows typical patterns of stocks or assets. You have like a wave 1, a wave 2 correction, a taller wave 3, wave 4 correction, and then you hit your peak at wave 5. And then from there, it's a downhill correction, an A, B, and a C, typically going back to the starting point, at which point it will do another wave 5. If we look at that on Bitcoin's chart here, and I pulled up the Elliott wave overlay here, we can see that it pretty much follows that pattern. Here's our wave 1 in January. Wave 2 pullback, wave 3 gets a little choppy here, but here's our peak at wave 5, and now we have our ABC correction, A, B, and C. So based on Elliott wave, you might say we're done, and then from here we could shoot up or maybe go sideways and then work our way up. But there's another pattern that's going around, and it's called the Wyckoff method. This guy is a famous trader. It's called the Wyckoff schematic. He studied stocks. He owned his own stock firm. He was a 20th century pioneer in the technical approach of studying the stock market. He's considered one of the 5 titans of technical analysis. From his position, Mr. Wyckoff observed, let me just highlight this here, numerous retail investors being repeatedly fleeced. Consequently, he dedicated himself to instructing the public about the real rules of the game. And he came up with the Wyckoff schematic, which is very similar to the Elliott wave, and it shows the initial surge, a pullback, another peak, and then you might have a little bit of choppy action. He broke this up into, his claim was that all of this is manipulated by big traders that push it up and then push it back down. So if we overlay the Wyckoff method onto this, I pulled up the PP signal Wyckoff wave here, and we can see again, Bitcoin is just following it very, very closely here. And based on the Wyckoff method, we are right about here at the end of phase D and the beginning of phase E, where we're going to have this one little push to the upside before the eventual plunge right back down to where we started. Which on this chart, we can see here we're already beginning our last little spur. So let me just draw that here. So it's going to go something like this, and then it's going to go like that. And probably go right back down to where it started, which for Bitcoin, this surge pretty much started around 20K here in mid-December, and this is the entire run here. From here, it's probably going to just do this here, go sideways, and then eventually go back up, and probably start a new Elliott wave or a whole new cycle. So, or Wyckoff wave. So it's just not looking good. Another thing that's concerning is the PI cycle top. It predicted a peak on the 12th of April, and freaking goddamn it, it was actually right. Within 3 days, our peak I think was the 14th of April at 65,000, and since then it's all been downhill. I knew about this. I should have unloaded everything at 65,000 or right after getting the PI cycle top indicator. But I must have watched 30 or 40 YouTube videos with these TA guys, these technical analysts, and they all said that this cycle top indicator was BS because it had never been tested in real time, and that it was the numbers were manipulated to work backwards. But it looks to me like it actually was correct. Now, I did sell a bunch in this range here, right around 59, 60. Unfortunately, I bought back in again right around 42, 43 in this area because I did not realize how much further this thing was going to go down. So for me, that was right about here. It went down here, went sideways, and I thought that's when I sent this. Let's bring this up here. That's when I sent you this chart here, which showed that I had predicted that there was going to be a 10-day cycle dump based on the previous things I had done, and we were still in it, so we were right around here. And I'll be damned if we look here. It did go. Let's zoom in a little bit. Much further down, but it lasted, according to my calculations here, 9 days and 12 hours. And now I've marked off a new upward trend, which is on average about 20 days. So my guess is that this is going to choppily maybe work its way up, and then it's going to head all the way down. And this will be the last push before the final plunge into the crypto abyss, as they say. So I don't know if this thing will go as high as 50 grand where I drew it up here. This may just kind of go sideways and maybe barely make it up to 42 or 43 before it rolls over and crashes. But if it goes anywhere near 50, I am just going to unload. I bought back in everything, so I'm fully invested. I've bought stuff along the way on the way up, but I'm still in positive territory. Even if I sold right now, I'd still be ahead. But I don't want to be sitting on Bitcoin and Ethereum when let me just put this in perspective. When it goes like this and goes all the way freaking down to 20, which will put me back to zero or at a loss. And it could go lower. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm just saying it doesn't look good. There is some good news, so I'm not totally sure that it's going to do this. For example, if we look at the Bitcoin price after halvings, we see that the 2013 run went up pretty aggressively, and then had a massive drop. I think this was about 50% based on my calculations, and then went sideways and then dipped down. And this was several months in this area here before it began its final push to the top. And then looking at the 2016-2017 run, it had several drawdowns that were mostly around 35. I think this one here is 40%, which is very similar to the drawdown we're having right now, this blue line here for the 2020-21 run. And then to the final top here in December of 2017. So it's possible that this is just a spike down, and then it's going to continue up to its all-time high, probably somewhere in this area. The theory is that these pushes are going to get longer. For example, this one was only 370 days. This one was 525 days, and that this time may go all the way out here before it quits, which would sort of follow this pattern, this downward trend pattern. So this final push would be a little lower and a little longer. But I don't really know. But let me show you another thing that's going on here. This is the spike from 2017. So this is Bitcoin. One of the reasons that people are saying also that we're not at a blow-off top and that this is just a minor correction or a short-term correction is because the pattern of Bitcoin, there's no blow-off top here. I mean, there's a peak, but it's very, very flat. It's rounded, as opposed to the 2017 peak, which, as we can see, is extremely dramatic, and then a gigantic plunge all the way down of 84%. But let's take a look at the altcoin market for 2017, 2018. Now, Bitcoin peaked out in 2017 on, I think it was the 17th of December, and then Ethereum and the altcoins peaked out on the, looks like the 4th of January, approximately 3 weeks later, before they finally collapsed. Well, we know that Bitcoin peaked out here on the 14th of April, and here is the altcoin market for 2021, which peaked out on the 11th of May, approximately 3.5 weeks after Bitcoin's peak. So we're seeing a pattern here. Bitcoin peaked in December 2017. 2017. Altcoins peaked 3 weeks later. Now we have Bitcoin peaking here in April, and 3 weeks later we have the altcoin market peaking here. Another thing is you'll notice something very similar. Look at this spike. Look at this drawdown here of about 50%. The bounce, another drawdown, another bounce, and then finally to the bottom. That was Bitcoin. The altcoin market, huge spike, 50% drawdown, the bounce, another drawdown, another bounce, and then finally to the bottom. Now let's look at the altcoin market this year. Wow. See a pattern? They look identical. As a matter of fact, this is our drawdown here, which is about 55%, and we're right now in our first bounce. So if we take this here and we go to bar pattern, let's go like that, draw it to there. We're going to say copy. What do you know? Look at that. So this is the dump here of the altcoin market in early 2018. As you can see, it followed this pattern. We can overlay that exact same pattern just like that, and it's almost freaking identical. This is what the altcoin market is doing. The only difference is we're right here in this pattern. We're going to go up a little bit more, and then this thing's going to crash all the way down, and we're going to get another bounce, and it's going to go right to the freaking bottom. How long is this going to take? Well, based on this, it looks like it'll finally hit the absolute bottom sometime maybe mid-August. And then what's it going to do after that? I don't know. It doesn't look good to me, though. It's going to be tough for me to get out of this market. I don't want to sell right now because it could go, looking at this chart here, it could be just this, a little bit of, let me zoom in here. This could be just a little spike right here, like this one, and then to the top, or this one, and then to the top. Or it could be this, right to the freaking bottom. So I'm not sure what to do. I certainly don't want to cash out at, I wouldn't be at a loss, but I would lose a lot if this thing did shoot up. So what I'm going to do is, okay, so going back to my date charts here, the dump finished, from what I can tell. I put all of my dump end dates at the lowest spike, so the lowest point here. You could say that the dump date for the May dump is this one here, but this spike is lower, so I put it here as the end of it, which is 9 days and 12 hours, which I think is pretty spot on. So starting from that point and going 20 days out, which is the average, it's going to put our peak somewhere around the 8th of June. It could be earlier. This one was only 14 days here. Change this to an arrow. This one was 19 days. This one was short, 13 days. So it could be as short as 13 days, which would be, let's see, 8 minus, could be as early as June 2nd, June 3rd, or it could be longer. I don't know, but I'm going to watch this. If it gets anywhere near 50, I'm going to start unloading and try to exit this market. Not all of it, but at least 50%, maybe 2/3. I'll leave a little bit in case it does go to the moon. I'm okay with it starting to surge to the top and I have to get back in at a higher price. Not a big deal. I'll lose a little on the way up, but I'll lose a lot less than if I watch this thing go all the way back down to 20,000 or less, and then I have to sit on it for 4 months or who knows how long before the whole damn thing goes back up again. It could be 3 years, 3.5 years. We don't know. So I'm going to try to exit this market if I can get an opportunity to get this to go back up. I think we got another week, maybe 2 at the most. Anyway, that's my analysis. Thanks.